So I press record. So Rebecca, you go ahead and you have permission to share your screen and we're going to watch and then we're going to give you feedback.
Okay, and what are we giving her feedback on?
So she's going to share with us where she is in her capstone. And so we're going to give her feedback about you're going to look at what she's giving to us right now.
Gotcha.
Can you all see my screen? Am I sharing it?
It looks like your screen is in the background instead of the foreground. Now
Okay.
we can. Thank you.
Okay. So me and Reagan are working on this project together, and we both actually switched schools this year. And I'm now teaching first grade. So we kind of had to rethink our project. Originally, we had a website. So now we're basically doing the same thing. We're just making it a slide deck instead. So we're taking all that information and just putting it in a slide deck to make it easier. Because I actually did a recipe for reading slide deck training at my new school at Plano. And it was really, really easy to maneuver. And it seemed a lot more just together and easier to go through. So we're actually going to do a slide deck where you can click either kindergarten or first grade. And I'm working on the first grade and Reagan is working on the kindergarten. And then we have the different parts of reading. So we have the print concepts, the phonics, phonological awareness, and fluency. And that'll be for both kindergarten and for first grade. So I will go into my paper. So I had my introduction and I reworked it, because I had that I was a kindergarten teacher in Russellville, but I'm now a first grade teacher in Bowling Green. So it will cover first grade and kindergarten. And the whole problem of practice was that we saw in Russellville that they had a huge turnover for new teachers, that teachers were coming in and they didn't feel prepared and they didn't feel adequate to teach reading. So we wanted to have some kind of resource for teachers when they come into the teaching profession to use to help them whenever they are teaching reading. So we are thinking through, what would work and what would help those teachers. And that's how we came up with a website or a slide deck. So that way they would have it, they could go back on it. If they're struggling with phonemic awareness, if they're struggling with print concepts, they can click through it and that can help them as they're teaching. Because we said it wasn't just a problem in Russellville, it was a problem with the teaching profession in general. And so we sent out a survey, and some of this I know is repetitive from last time, but I don't know if everyone heard it or not. So.
But I think it's important for you to get, because it's the first time we've had criteria.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be helpful to you for us to look at that slide. And then, so if you don't mind, pause after you do the first section and then we'll give you some feedback.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll just go through this whole introduction. So we both got our new jobs, and then let's see where I was at. I think I was coming down here. We sent out a Google form to our teachers in Russellville, and we just kind of had some different questions that we asked them. And we want to know how beneficial our tool would be for them as new teachers. And then it says the data that we received back was really wonderful. One of the questions we asked was, how supported did you feel in your first year teaching? So this was just to kind of back up of why our product is needed. And we asked them to rate their experience from 1 to 5, with 1 being little support and 5 being complete support. And 12 out of the 18 people that answered our survey, they said that they would rate it a 3 or below. So we thought that number was really, that's not what you want. You want your teachers to feel supported because you want them to stay in the teaching profession. 15 out of the 18 said that the video lessons, because we plan to put videos in there, would be very helpful. And 14 out of the 18 said that they would visit a website like ours often. So we took the feedback from this survey to help us decide how to make our slide deck better. So I'll pause there, I guess.
Okay, so let's just, Reagan, do you have that Google slide deck open from Myers, or do you want me to share it? Either way, it's fine. It was I think it was slide 5 that we were just looking at. I can share if you want me to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking to me?
Yes.
I thought you said Reagan.
I'm sorry, Rebecca. I'm sorry.
So what are you asking me?
Yes, the Google slide deck that we just had up, that's from the train. There you go, on the agenda. There you go. Please. Thank you. So it's at the top box there. There you go.
No, that's the form. This one.
Yeah, I think it's slide 5.
Okay. That one.
Yes. So last night I received this is something that we're, so did you, so when the first piece there is, did Rebecca give us a description of the school and organization?
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Okay. And so you gave us data about the teachers, about what they thought and how many had left and all that. So the needs assessment, that survey that you made was the needs assessment. And so then that's asking about observable. So is your problem of practice something that is it something you can see? And that it's something that, that teachers are coming in as new, is something that is observable. And is it actionable? Is it something, so is this problem something you can do something to change? Or is it actions you can take to make a difference? And so let me ask the group that, how do you feel about that? Is this an actionable?
I think so. Not just because we're working together, but because our efforts are, we are really trying to help the teachers who are brand new to the field, who never got their student teaching experience or anything like that. And then also veteran teachers who, are still, like, it was alarming to see on the survey that it was even veteran teachers who still weren't feeling prepared. I think that the school district had a lot of demands on the curriculums that were taught. And I don't think that the teachers were very prepared to fulfill those demands. If that makes sense.
Okay. And that even goes back to being observable too, that those teachers said those things. Okay. And then supported by details based on insights. And so you've given us quite a bit of insight in that survey you created. And so then it talks about I would call this section even talking about the alignment. So that the slide deck that you created that give people resources then as part of your capstone, then that becomes aligned to this problem. So that's your solution within your realm of influence as a teacher. What can you do to support your colleagues? Well, you can give them those resources that are ready. And so does anybody want to talk about that, about how you see it? Is there any part of this criteria that you think that Rebecca has not met or she needs to beef up?
Should we put the turnover rate in this introduction?
I would put all that data in.
Okay. And on like
sorry, I know I have that turnover rate somewhere. I was trying to see if I could find where I put it in here. I could maybe move it up to the top though.
Yeah, you probably want to have it in that part 1.
Okay, I put it right here in this introduction, the evaluation and application of research. I said Russellville is no exception with a turnover rate of 43.1% from this past year in comparison to the 16% nationwide turnover rate.
Yeah, so you know what? For now, why don't you keep it both places? Because we're still in a draft form.
Okay, I'm gonna just copy it while we're on here just so I don't forget.
Yes, I agree.
Maybe.
What if you did a rating, like how many years taught, like 0 or 1 to 4, 5 to 10, and that's kind of insightful of like comparing, like you said, that tenured teachers feel they're not prepared either. That's kind of good statistics on. That's good data, I think. But
yeah, I think we have that on the survey, so that is definitely something we could add on in here as well.
What about some assessments? I didn't ask you that before, whenever we spoke, last year and everything.
Mm.
What about assessments that would guide them to say, oh, I see a phonological awareness deficit. You need to focus on sounds before you even move on. Do you have any of those? Because if you
Like-
don't, I can help you.
Like an assessment, like assessments you can give your
Like a
children.
phonics screener, a past assessment for phonological awareness, things like that possibly.
I know we did the Hegarty
Yep.
test last year. We did a beginning, a middle, and an end. But if you have any other ones that, we would love to look at them.
Okay. I'll drop it in the chat box as we're going today. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you.
That's great.
So
Okay.
does our capstone need to include like the name of the school and like all of that personal information? I didn't know if it did or not.
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I would. And in fact, in a bit, because I know you've got to leave. I've got a sample from Rebecca, and let's look and see if they have the name of the school to make sure.
Okay.
Okay, that's a great question. I'm going to write that down so we don't forget.
Okay, because I was wondering that because I put like a school in Russellville, a school in Bowling Green. So I didn't know if I needed to put Stevenson Elementary School, Plano Elementary, that kind of thing.
Yeah, let
Well,
me.
because I knew that this was going to be published on the website for a few years, right?
That's true.
So I didn't know if we wanted that information out there.
Let's see.
Right, you don't want any backlash from that
Yeah.
as being non-tenured too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that is kind of what I was worried about as well.
That's true. Let's look at Rebecca's and see, and then I can clarify with her.
Okay.
Okay, that's great. Okay, well, let's go ahead, and let's look at your literature review, your part 2.
Where was that? There's my introduction. So then I came down here.
Thank you. That was very helpful to see that and compare it against the criteria. I'm glad we finally have that criteria.
Mhm.
Yes, that is helpful. I came down here and have my connection to standards. And right now I just kind of put the standards in that it matches, but I plan to go back in more detail with more examples. I just have in that it matches to standard 10, which is the collaboration and leadership, because me and Reagan worked on it together. And it also is made to progress the teaching profession as a whole, because we want it to help primary teachers, or even like we talked about, experienced teachers that maybe have never taught reading before, or they weren't prepared to teach reading, or they've taught older grades, or things like that, that this would help them. I said that it goes with the second standard it connects to is standard 1, which is the learner development. And it just stated that the teacher shall understand how learners grow and develop.
See, Rebecca, we've lost you for a second.
About how you need to use the multi-sensory approaches, and talking about how all 4 parts to reading is important, and the way you should teach them and all of that as well. And then it goes with standard 8 that talks about using the variety of instructional strategies to encourage learners to develop a deeper understanding. So that's just going along with the best practices for teaching reading.
Yes.
For the primary grades. And then, so here's my introduction for the evaluation and application of research. Let's see. And this is where I had like the 41% for the turnover rate, and then comparison to the 16% nationwide turnover rate. And I just talked about how if it continues to be a trend, students in this district, or really any district, are unfairly denied high quality education from experienced teachers, because if you're constantly getting new teachers, you can't train them properly. So we just talked about, we wanted to resolve this problem in this district and other districts.
Okay.
Let's see, evaluation. So then here's just some more of my research, talking about the turnover rate. And it says that we should consider improving key factors associated with teacher turnover rate, which compensation, teacher preparation, and support and school leadership. So the one we were focusing on there was the teacher preparation. And we're hoping that the curriculum website or slide deck could help with that. And then I have not worked on the application of the research yet. So that's my next step.
Okay. So let's go back now. Look at slide 6. because I think you're just at the place now where slide 6 is going to really help you.
Mhm.
So what I did on this, there's a rubric, but I only lifted the effective column. I didn't lift the accomplished column. See how this says summary of the findings of 8 to 10 sources, but then
Mhm.
it says half of those being peer-reviewed journals. That's new information we did not have until last night that they're looking for. So, I mean, that's as simple as that's a number thing. Now, I'll say this, the difference between effective and accomplished is the word summary, because in accomplished, it says a synthesis. So in the model that we're going to look at that Rebecca shared with us from this summer, it shows a synthesis. So that's something you want to make notes of for yourself, that if possible, you want to not just only do a summary, but also do a synthesis. So if it's okay, I'm going to share, because this part's not done yet, right, Rebecca?
Yeah, it's not finished yet.
Okay, so I don't think, if you could stop sharing for just a moment. I don't think it's fair for us to. I'll stop. I think I can stop it. There we go. Maybe. There we go. Now I'm going to share, and I'm going to, let's see, go back over to our agenda. There we go. And I'm going to just go over here, which shows a sample literature review. And let's look at that together, because I think this is really going to help you. For those of you that attended boot camp, you've seen it.
Mhm.
But you can see how that, this is part 2. So you can see how that she gives references. So when you read, let's just start reading this just a little bit. This talks about the draft. Okay.
I mean, I was struggling to find 3. Now it's 8.
And that's only 4 of them have to be peer reviewed.
Oh, 4 have to be peer reviewed.
Yes. The others could be really kind of educated,
Oh,
research light.
oh. Okay, that's better, because I thought 8 is a lot.
8 is a lot. I agree.
What is peer reviewed, Jamie? I don't know if I know that. I don't know if I have a connection to that.
Okay. So peer review would be, it shows up in a professional journal, like it shows who reviewed the research, but even work like John Hattie's work and things that we've used, Allison shared with us, that research and language, those were peer reviewed. So a peer reviewed means that someone, like all the What Works Clearinghouse are peer reviewed, of course, because it means someone has reviewed their methods for the research and has, tested this to see if it's valid research. So what that's saying is that half of what you're citing here has been looked at by somebody. Sometimes it'll say it's research, but no one's looked at to see if it's valid.
Ask a quick question.
Sure.
So this looks like a research paper. Is that what we're doing here?
This section is a literature review. Yeah, it is. This section is. The next sections are not. This section 2, that's what it is.
So what is section 2?
So section 2 goes into implementation. You describe what you did. So what they're doing now, they're saying what they have taken on as their project over the 2 years, across the 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that section 1 tells their problem, why they decided they needed it. Section 2 tells the research that shows what solutions, what they should try to have evidence, peer-reviewed evidence to say that this is something that would help the situation. And then section 3 tells what you did. I think section 3 is the easiest to write because you're telling what you did.
So
And
basically, this whole thing is a project with a paper.
you know what? That's a really great question because originally it was a project with a paper, and now people can do a project but have a slide deck, a Google slide deck to show it, and they can also have a website, a Google site to show it. There are other ways to show it. And the reason people right now are showing it like a paper is because that's how they got started, because that's the only way they had to start.
Gotcha.
So
So that's different than what this over here is, all these slides.
yes, it is. Mhm.
Okay. So you can choose to put it in either format.
Yes, you can. That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Great question. So when you see how that Rebecca wrote it, see how she has those references, listed throughout. It's not Rebecca's, it's another candidate, but it was, what was her name? Megan Donaldson that did this. But you can see how they gave their thinking, their synthesis. It's not only a summary. So you see all that research and so some of these are peer reviewed and some of them are not. So Brandy made a good case in that sometimes it's hard to find the research. So what I do, and we've talked about this before, so it's not new news. When I find a really good piece of research that's helpful, I look at in the appendix or in the references. Really, it's the references they use, and they use research to write their research. And I go to that to find my research often. That's how I find it. Especially for these pieces that you're just giving short phrases from it. It's not everything about what you were doing. So I've shared that on the agenda so you can see that. And see what, but now I'll say this one is one that would have scored, it would have been higher than effective because it's a synthesis. And the criteria, let me go through that, is that you need at least a summary. Okay. Does that make sense? So this is all new news. So Jennifer, they're hearing things tonight they've never seen before, and I didn't see till last night. So
We're still building that plane.
we are building that plane. And we've got on our parachutes.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, you clarified all that for me. So as in our writing, if we have written, I know we'll have to do some other things, but I did summarize some things in different paragraphs of research that I had,
Mhm.
but I don't know if I can do it with each one, or does it have to be at the end, like a synthesis of all of the research, or is there?
I think you could weave this. I think you could weave the here's what I would do. I would do what made sense to me logically as I was writing. Like if it was better for you to give the synthesis in the beginning and say, and this is why. And then you could give them the summary, almost like a 5-paragraph essay.
Okay.
I don't know, but I wonder if that might work. Like give a synthesis in the beginning paragraph and the ending paragraph. And then in those, you would need probably for each of those peer reviewed, you might have 4 paragraphs then. It'd be really clear.
Yeah.
Or if you're doing a Google slide, you might have 4 bullets.
Yeah.
And go deep into them. But then give that synthesis. And then, but again, let me say this, you don't have to have a synthesis to get to pass. I mean, and I know I shouldn't say pass, but complete. Let me say that. It's really not pass fail, but complete. You only have to have a summary. So keep that in mind, but yet here's the truth of it. I know you guys, you really have synthesized things. I mean, you've thought about it. You didn't just like read a list of stuff.
Right. Okay.
But I like that to be effective, as long as you summarize, you're okay.
Perfect.
Because I'll tell you this, guys, you're going to complete whether you're effective or whether you're the next step up. I mean, you're going to get the same rank change.
That's right.
Okay. I mean, so
I have a 4.0 in my
Well,
master's work, but nobody cares. Nobody cares, Jamie, that I have
I
a
know.
4.0.
I know, I know.
What
I
about
know.
if you're developing in this research stuff?
Yeah. So, so Jennifer, so when, you know, we're starting to work on your competency product and you start to think about your problem of practice, you know, we could, that's something I could help you think about. Maybe we could start you on your literature review now, because we're seeing this criteria now. We've never seen this till last night. I am thankful I didn't have this cadre meeting until today, because I didn't know
Right.
the number.
We all said that we wish we had a research before we started doing all of our things. So you're lucky that you're going to do the research first. And if you can't find it, then you better find something else to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because we worked, you know, I want this project and this, and then we did our research.
So then, would we be able to share ideas of stuff?
Absolutely. That's what we do. And that's what we do. We share ideas. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This is like a small group for sharing ideas. So Rebecca, if you had to jump off, I'm sure it's 4:42. So, so Reagan, do you have anything new to add than what Rebecca shared, because you guys work together?
That's what I was gonna say when it was my turn. I really don't, but I took a lot of beneficial information from this conversation, so I know exactly what we need to work on.
Okay. And I think at the next cohort meeting, which Jennifer means your other group, it gets really confusing. I think they're going to probably share the full rubric with you.
Okay.
And so I only shared with you the parts we're working on tonight, and I only shared with you the effective columns, because I wanted you to see how good is good enough to complete.
Right. Yeah.
And
I do have a question, if you don't care. Okay. At our last cohort meeting, Angie was talking about this being done in October, but just tonight you were mentioning December. So that gave me a little bit more hope. Do you know for sure if this paper has to be done in October?
I do know that. And the answer is no. I thought early on, we were told we'd be finished by November. And then last night, we were all told we're not even going to set those meetings up for you guys to present until December and January.
Oh,
Whew. Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Because they said it was pushing too hard and it was too much. And so, and your presentation, I also know this, is only 15 minutes.
But did they clarify if, like, there's so many people doing it together, like as a small group or as a partner or anything, can that presentation be together?
No, it can't. Each person, like, you can work on it together, but each person must present their own piece.
Okay.
I mean, their own website or their own Google slide deck or their own paper.
But what if it's literally the same though? Like if Rebecca had, I mean, we both have the same slide deck.
It's okay, because you might even have different committee members.
Okay.
You're going to present it to 4 people.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to present it to 2 Grec Ed people, 1 university person, and I think it's a district person. I wrote all this down. Yes, 1, and it's 15 minutes per presentation. So you guys may be presenting to different people, for that matter.
Mm-hmm. So do you know if that time could, you know, be showing our videos, or is it solely of me talking or reading my paper?
It's how do you know how you're going to present yet? Are you going to use the Google? Are you going to present the paper, or are you going to present it with the Google Slides or the website? Or
I didn't know that either, because we're doing our paper we have a slide deck that is our capstone, you know, like that's the piece
Mhm.
that we share with other teachers and everything. Could we, do we share that and then have like our paper on another tab where we go back and forth and
Good. Yes, you could.
parts on our paper?
You could. You could.
So then we
Or you
could,
could, and you could also have a Google slide deck, because really the Google slide deck's just the paper and chunks to me.
yeah.
And then you could have your Google slide deck embedded in it.
Mhm.
I mean, you can decide that. You could decide about which one you feel is best for you. I mean, it's
I
truly
just don't know if we could like share our screen for the capstone that we created and just talk through it, you know, or like talk and read parts of our paper without having the professional capstone slide deck. If we could still use ours that we have made.
Can you use a paper? Absolutely. You can use a paper copy to do it. So officially, let me say this, officially, your presentation is your paper. Because you're being scored on, when you read that scoring guide, it's about how well you explain that.
Right.
I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi cut out. Could you repeat just
So when you look at the scoring guide, it's how well you explain it instead of it really being just about your project. See, section 1 is about you thoroughly explaining your problem. And section 2 is about the research and the synthesis and, you know, summary of that. And then section 3 is about the project itself. And then you have reflection. So, you know, it's like the project is important, but it's really bigger than that project. It's about how, as a professional, how did you decide you needed the project? What led you to decide your actions to take? And then describing the project and then reflecting about it. So it's really kind of about, it's a professional journey you were on to solve a problem.
I started the slide deck and I shared it with Jamie today, but whenever I share, you might decide after you see it that, oh, I can do that. And this might be easier.
Okay. Does that help? If it helps or not? But, you know, early on, we kind of thought of the capstone project as being the event. But it's really the whole process of you describing it professionally as the event.
So then whenever we present in front of the committee members, they're judging us on effective, what were the 3?
It's,
Non-effective.
yeah, let me go back to that. Hold on here.
And what happens if it, I don't want to say it, but like, what if they find something that's like not effective?
Then you're going to get an opportunity to work on it.
Okay.
Approaching, effective, or exemplary.
Okay.
Is it okay if it's approaching? I mean, we fail it?
It has to be effective.
Okay.
I mean, before we get to our presentation part, though, you all have looked at our thing so many times, you're not going to send us in there.
No, we're not.
I mean,
No, that's why Skip and I have not given any feedback yet to people I mean, that's what we said. We said we can't. That's why we've been doing what we've been waiting until we had that criteria. But see, now we've got the criteria, you know, it's pretty cut dry. I mean, so the criteria, and that's why I only showed you effective. You could do better than that. But, you know, you've got to have 4 pieces of evidence of peer-reviewed studies. If you have 8 others, it says 8 to 10. So, I mean, that's pretty clear. But when you look at that sample that Rebecca shared with us, you see that she had several in there. And, you know, some are just 2 or 3 sentences about it. It's not a, you know, it's,
Right.
so that's why it's important for us to go ahead now and get all that flushed out So getting parts 1 and part 2 all flushed out. I think those are the hardest parts really to flush out because you know what you did as your work.
I'm sorry for all the questions, but I
No,
just had
that's why
something
we're
else.
here. No, that's why we're here. And that's why we're here. And that's why it's so good to get the criteria today.
Mhm.
And
Well,
set-
I just had a thought like come back to me. Like, is it going to be rated on effective or exemplary? Like based on, so we were at Russellville when we did this, and our data that's at the end of our paper was going to be based on us implementing these things from our capstone into our classrooms. Since we're basically new teachers in these schools, we wanted to utilize what we've made and use the data like from our students. But if this was made for the turnover rate at Russellville, essentially, because we saw that as our problem of practice, is the effectiveness of this capstone going to be judged on like, do we have to see if this changed the turnover rate at Russellville? Like if those teachers are implementing this and did this change the turnover rate there? Or is it going to be based on like if they see it as effective and for like use to help for a turnover rate in general?
So I think you're just going to have to explain that at the reflection piece at the end. You're going to have to explain that you've moved to a new school, and you're going to. So then you could gather data. Then I think probably do you have new teachers at your school? Well, you're one of them.
We do have. I teach with one brand new teacher.
Okay.
So you'll
So
have map data right now. Right.
Mhm.
And that delves into PA and phonics and fluency and all of those things. So that will give you the rates at where those students are currently. And then in 6 weeks, you could do another data set. So you have some data there.
with your new
So-
teachers, do it with your new people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Using those resources.
Yeah, I didn't know because our plan was to use it like for the students in our classroom and,
Mhm.
show that we're utilizing it and this is the growth in our students.
Well,
I didn't
because
know.
that's the only people you can really influence right now is your own self.
Right.
And I think you could describe that, but I think you could share it with other new teacher and that could be, you could compare your data sets.
Hmm. Or maybe even get like survey information from them as well. Okay.
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
All right. I think that's all my questions.
Those are great questions. Yes. So who wants to go next? Jennifer, I hope you're hanging with us. I'm sorry. I know it looks like a lot.
I'm hanging. Are
Okay.
these typically 2-hour meetings?
Yes.
Okay.
I can go next so everybody can see the slide deck so they could make some
Okay.
decisions. I
Thank
made
you.
that decision just based on you guys that I create slide decks every day. So I thought I can do this, Jamie.
Yeah, I understand. It's your way to talk.
So I'll share screen. All right.
Thank you, Christy.
Oh, you're welcome. Let's see. Let me get you to where you can see everything. So I do have my paper here. And for Jennifer, I did write a lot of the paper. Now I'm putting it into a slide deck, just so you can see that. And I can give you some things about the Rockcastle field project as we go along, just to catch you up. But it was basically me as a consultant working in Rockcastle County because the Brigant scores were the lowest in the state. And so that's why I went in there to help with those, along with training and things like that. So in the introduction, the part 1, I put how early childhood has been misunderstood. A lot of our kids attend preschool, but then they didn't have a good basis for coming to school or anything like that. But we had found that we did find some data in one of our schools which is horrible, but one of them was, and not Rockcastle, but another district had what do I want to say? Their scores were equivalent to a child having no preschool intervention at all.
After they finish preschool?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
For 2 years.
Wow.
So, and that kind of lets you know that mainly the children in our area where I am in Eastern Kentucky, parents just don't send their kids to school. They don't see the need for it, or, there's just so much. But what we do know is from the Brigance, which we took data from, as you can see there, we did the screening, and then we saw what needed, where we could coach or where we could train and go into Rockcastle and help them. We did take a small slice. We didn't do all the preschools in our area, just Rockcastle. And 47.8% of assessed children on the Brigance in our region were not ready for kindergarten. And that's them going to home, church, school, none, all of that. So, and then we looked at data as a whole co-op initiative, and we saw that those kids who were not ready for kindergarten, they were kids who were in RTI all the years until we tried to get them till teachers tried to get them to catch up, and then they were still treading water. They just never got to the level of instruction and was able to retain that knowledge. So they start out low. Research says that they're going to continue that unless we intervene with some research-based practices and other things. So that's kind of what we did there. I had some outcomes that my co-op said that I had to have to for the school to participate with me. So we had those, and we did trainings. Evaluation and research. This is what I came up with. I feel like I need to relook at this and kind of rethink some of it. But we know that teachers, if they don't have skin in the game, then or the professional development pertains to their work, like preschool work or literacy work or whatever it might be, that if they have low efficacy in that, they're not going to move kids. So we looked at all of that and the professional growth. And we all know that I've been in schools where, say I was a third grade teacher and the preschool teachers were shoved in with all of us and they had to take our PD and it didn't meet their needs. So they just kept on floundering, guys, because they didn't have professional development that was research-based and that fit the need to change scores. So that's kind of where we went with that. We have student growth data here that I incorporated so you can see how it impacted students. And then in the research, I talked about John Hattie. So you can see here, like I did this paragraph here just on John Hattie and the effect sizes of, response to intervention and the learning needs of students, teacher clarity, all of those things. So explicit teaching. So I have those, and that was one piece of research, but then I have some other things at the top, but I need to readdress that and kind of update that. We do have an implementation. I talk about that here. I did create a GevGet, which will incorporate in, so you guys can kind of see how that looks. The objectives are on the top of the GevGet. Any school that we go in, we kind of lay these things out on what we'll do, what the teacher will do, what the district will do, what administrators will do. So we laid it all out for them. So anyone reading it would know about the project. Let's see, these are all the research-based trainings that I did with them. So I listed those in there.
So then, Christy, you could go back into, like, for instance, when you go back up there, the dialogic reading, for instance,
Yeah.
I've got the peer review research for dialogic reading.
Okay. Great. Will you share that with me?
Absolutely, I will. And so
Okay.
that's the kind of thing that those pieces here, see that you've got up there, you could you could
kind of
easily
move
get
it
back.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you could name those up in that research section.
Well, I think no, that's implementation. So yeah, you're right. I need to take some of the implementation and move it to the research and then I have some, research on these that I have pulled, but I need to be more effective. I need to look at that area.
And to be frank about it, we haven't had this guidance until tonight.
Right. This is the word web that I created, that we talked about, and that has the overarching, the whole project, and then all the things that I did there. So as you're looking at that, let's see, where is it? I created the slide deck last week. I got it from, I think, Rebecca, and I decided that I could wrap my head around the slide deck. So I have started that, and Rebecca gives you specific things like leave this title here, only put this here. So it's not like you're winging it.
And so I've listed on this agenda how you request those pieces too.
Yeah. So I requested it and I got it 2 days later. So they just wanted it, she was very specific. Just give me a short thing on it. You don't have to go into a dissertation. Give me some stuff on you so our panel gets it. All the staff that helped me at GREC, they talked about that. And the CEO program information, this is all of our information. And then all of the slide deck basically gives you your chunks, and all you have to do is fill it in. So it says introduction, and it's a field project. And so then on the slides, it just tells you what you need to put there. So what I've been doing is kind of like, I'll copy all of this and then delete it and put it down here in my notes so I can still see it, but still work on my slide. Problem of practice. I haven't merged those things in yet. I was just kind of laying it out and kind of wrapping my head around it and reading my paper and kind of making sure that.
But you did a paper and a slide deck.
So I have implementation, impact, and results, and they tell you use this slide only.
So Brandy asked a question. So she did a paper because that's all we had for a long time.
Yeah.
But she's
So
doing
you're only going to turn in your slide deck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Next steps, things like that, but it's all laid out. Connection to standards. And then my Grec Ed story, I have to put, and then the classroom component, artifacts and content, they lay it out here and it comes at the end. So I just did my web there because they said you needed to list at least 4 artifacts. I already had this. We did that year one. So all I had to do was copy it and just lay it in there on that slide. And all of the links are hot links. So if I'm presenting, they'll know that they can look at this, or after I leave, they could go back into this web and really pull up some of the, like the dialogic reading training or whatever that I did.
Thank you, Christy. Jonah is taking a deep look at your work because he's been on several Zoom calls with us. And
oh, yeah?
He's reading your slides.
So
I like all my friends here. I love Greg.
So do you guys have examples of these besides just this one?
Oh, I think you have to ask for it. We never saw the completed one in our meeting or in our Cadre meeting last month. You just had to request what you thought you might do. It would be nice to see them all and but they don't have that because it just started it, right?
Because I really
right.
feel like what I just saw with you, like it makes me understand it a little bit more. Just because I'm familiar with the top, I don't know, I just felt a little bit more connected with what you were going over. And do you all share your all stuff, or how does that work?
So Christy, everybody will be sharing. That's right. We will all be sharing. And so see, after your first semester, you're going to see a lot of products. So you're going to be in fine shape, Jennifer. This is the first time they've seen anything like this. It's your first semester and you're already seeing the end product. You have,
Gotcha.
you have a real advantage over what they have been very patient, endured a lot with us. So I'm going to share with you on our agenda. Let's look at that right now. I'm going to share screen. And let me go back. Let me go. I have the agenda for tonight. Let's see. There we go. So I have the sample literature review there, and we have the sample written paper that Rebecca shared. And then there's a sample capstone Google site that's partially done. But looking at Christie's is probably better now than looking at this partial that's here. So those are on tonight's agenda. And they're going to be offering another boot camp. So if you've not been through the boot camp experience, they're going to offer another one. So that's something else that you might consider. But Christy, thank you for sharing that. Now, that criteria that we just looked at with Rebecca's, as far as your problem practice being actionable and observable and all that, I mean, you could really point to that and strike that. And then you mentioned on your literature, because you're going to go back in, and some of those things you have down in implementation, you're going to move that up. But even so the parts where that you're choosing to do those every one of those strategies are evidence-based. And so then then you already had your strategy of the evidence base of what it means to coach someone. So I think when you rewrite that, you'll be in great shape on that.
I do too. And I will tell you, ladies, that when Jamie and I were talking one day, and I had everything in the first, everything that was all in my head in the first 3 pages of the paper. Jamie's like, hold on. Now, come on. Let's break this up and chunk it out. So just know I struggled with it too. And it's just really working through it and going back. But I like the chunking of the slide deck, Jamie. If you choose the site, I don't see that it's any different than a paper, honestly, except that it's on a site. But the slide deck is a little different. You don't have to, it's not as wordy.
And I think the slide deck's more, like I said, how we talk, how we communicate. We do a lot of slide decks. And so it's comfortable. I think that here's what I think probably happened with those sites. The first cohort, which is the STEM cohort that had that big science grant, they needed that to hold all their lesson planning they've been doing and all that. Whereas, maybe we don't need that much space like a site. A slide deck is sufficient. That's just my opinion. That's just an opinion. Just, that and $5 will get you a Starbucks coffee. I mean, that's not worth nothing, that opinion. But anyway, I see what you're saying, I think. So thank you so much for sharing. And so who wants to go next?
I don't care to go next. I've been in left field with this. More like playing in the dirt. I'm that kid playing in the dirt with this right now. I've got to get my head in the game.
Well, you know what?
So,
you've got the tools now to help you get your head in the game, because see, we didn't have the samples and we did not have those scoring guide pieces. So we're starting to get the tools to allow you to have the right things to play in the dirt.
yeah. So I guess I can share what I have. I got to figure out how to share again. It's been a while. Okay, I'm going to go to share screen, green arrow, and I'm going to share this right here. Okay, can you see it? Okay, so my capstone, I don't know, I have some mixed feelings about my capstone. I thought I was doing one thing and then I didn't, and then Skip was like, you need to focus a little bit more. So my capstone is building capacity for family utilization to increase child performance in 5 learning domains. I don't know. I think that's it. So in the introduction, I just talk about and I don't know, looking at that criteria and then looking at this part 1, I know I need to totally revamp. So
Well,
let me just say
I
that.
think, let me just say this. I think what you're doing in the beginning parts is you're telling, you're thinking, I think that's okay, but then you're going to
Okay.
get to your problem of practice. It's not that, it's almost like you're giving a context. It's
Okay.
okay, you know, in fact, you know, but here's the thing about it. Then if you did the slide deck, you might not have all those words. It depends, you know, so like when you're reading a paper, it's like telling a story, you know.
Yeah.
And so the slide deck might end up being easier. I don't know, but go ahead and tell us about your problem of practice.
Okay. So in the beginning, I just talk about, how my problem with practice is that families are truly unaware of what children need to become successful. That's just so they don't have all of the resources and the capacity within their communities. They're not available, but they don't have all these tools to make their child become successful. Is basically it. So I recognize the need for the parent education resources, tools, programs to build that so that they will become successful. And then I reviewed Chrissy Bergant's data. We did parent surveys. I did discussion with my peers and realized, parents need help. So I created an event called a Preschool Palooza that provides these. It provides resources, tools, books, parent information. And by doing so, it's bringing the community in, anyone that deals with children birth to 5, and giving them tools and working with families and engaging parents. So that was the true field experience, was the Preschool Palooza. And so created a parent survey for after the event. Talked about how it connects to Standard 10, leadership roles, and opportunities, collaborating with learners, families, colleagues, professional community members, things like that. So that was very easy. Also connected with Standard 9, professional learning and ethical practice, engaging in professional learning, evaluating his or own practice, and so on. It talks about choices and actions of others, such as learners, families, and professionals in the community. Let's see. Then I talked about reviewing family survey, creating some other tools that I used. Outreach with and collaborating with families and communities. Oh, let's see what else.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there.
Stop me.
So when we look at slide 5,
Yes.
okay, do you have that handy? Do you want me to go do it? Do you want me to do it?
You can do it.
Okay.
I'll stop sharing.
Okay.
Oh, you stopped me.
I did. I have a magic screen over here. Let's see if I can find the right. Okay. So let's look here. And let's look at this. So did you describe your school or organization?
Not really, because mine was a field project and it was a community event. So should I add more about maybe my community and
I think you should describe your
the
community data.
statistics of how many children we have birth to 5 in our community?
Right. And all those stats that go around that. Like,
Like maybe how many are in Head Start, how many are in public preschool.
yeah, so you know those, you know where all those that one file for your community has it all on there. The governor's office puts out.
Yes. I know where it's at.
Okay.
So describe my community.
So it's easier to describe that than it is to describe a school, really, because that data is all there for you.
Oh yeah.
And-
Enrollment in Head Start, public preschool, and daycares, etc.
Yeah, you would kind of tell that. And then I wonder, and I wonder about your needs assessment data in relation to your project. It's kind of like the data pieces are out, and I wonder if you need something, and maybe a slide deck would help you do that. I don't know if you went through the slide deck. Just, I'm wondering, I don't know that. If you want to stick with a paper, we'll help you do a paper. But I wonder, because it's almost like you have pieces of the data that come through at different spots. But I wonder about, you know how that you and Skip had that night where you,
Yeah,
you
and
and
I've never recovered. Because I had several pieces of things that I had created and used as artifacts that I wanted to use. And he was like, no, I don't think you need to. And it still doesn't, I don't know. But I mean, I can get more.
So I do think you're still having a productive, I'm using the word productive, struggle with your problem of practice.
Yeah.
And you and Skip, it all started that night because it kind of turned you up on your head because he kind of flipped it.
Mhm.
He kind of flipped the idea on it, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah. Right, because I was focusing on Brigant's being so low.
And he
And so
wanted
I
you to
agree.
focus on the families.
Right. And he wanted me to focus on that their capacity is
Yeah.
low.
Right.
And so
And the Brigance is just one of the results.
right.
So it's almost like, is the bell curve, that we all give data on that bell curve, is it really the truth or is it just a result of our practices? You know what I mean? So is the Brigant results really, is it really how it is? Or is it just that just shows the impact of our community and what kinds of services they have? Because really your implementation is all about providing that community more service.
Right.
Your Palooza is all about being sure every family has access to all the services of your community.
Right.
So
And and in all reality, 83 families attended.
Mhm.
So it's like, I'm not reaching everybody with this. I was actually able to reach more by using all the artifacts and tools that I created because I was sharing them with all the daycares and Head Starts and all the public preschools. That was more impactful. I feel the way I wanted my paper to go.
Okay.
Is your problem of practice,
They change, ever changing.
is it, because parents have low efficacy on what is needed to start school?
Right.
What are the expectations that you
Right.
developed? Your field project was to develop a Palooza to get parents excited and knowing more and what they could do at home.
Right. Knowing more they can do at home, knowing more of what's available, knowing more of, strategies and skills and activities.
Mhm. Well, all I know is that Jamie told me to be more specific. So I'm gonna tell you, you got to be more specific and narrow it down, right, Jamie?
Yeah, I think it's clearer if you can narrow it.
It
And-
just seems like it's all about families and the need for families to work with their students to be successful in preschool and in coming years.
And there's a lot of research to support that.
Right.
So are you
So
okay? Are you okay with your problem of practice?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm okay with things. Cause that's why I'm
Here's
like,
here's what I wonder. I wonder this, if you know that big graphic that Christy has that has the circles on it.
uh-huh.
And I wonder again, if you go back and you make your graphic, because it's going to be about families, but you have several strategies to get there. I wonder if the Palooza is just one strategy. That's a major strategy, but those things you shared with childcare also helps the family, right?
Right. That's what I had at first done was all of it. And then Skip was like, you need to focus more on one thing.
But if you have it, you're focused still on the family, but your different strategy, you know how Christy has that if you pull back to her circle, her visual graphic organizer for her thinking. You know, those
So I wanted my yes to be on the family, and then preschool palooza is a thing, and then my preschool prep I made, and then like the literacy things that we created, and all of those things is what I wanted.
but your problem of practice is still a family. I don't think Skip would say you can't do those as strategies or implementation because you've already done them anyway.
Right.
You already did it.
Maybe I just need to talk to Skip.
I
don't know.
You're welcome to talk to Skip. I do think he had some really idea, but I do think your problem of practice is about the family because it's about
Yes. Yes.
and your Begance data is part of what informs that. Your survey data informs that, right?
Yes.
So
I might think about it as like, maybe like because, but so. Jamie, what do you
Okay.
think? Like, because children are not exposed to school readiness things in regular families and they're not ready for school, then you would put, I did this and this was the outcome.
Right. Well, in my research part, I talk about,
why don't you share your research now?
well, I talked about the police was designed to build family capacity, to enhance student learning. I researched effectiveness of, let me reshare. I'm on two computers. Oh, let's see. Okay. That I research effectiveness of parent intervention and academic achievement through improvements, research the predictors of school readiness, and surveyed my families. A childhood survey was created to gain more knowledge of families and our local school daycare needs.
Now, I think that goes up in your problem of practice, that part.
So maybe I've just got it mixed up.
I mean, well, just those last pieces,
Yeah.
the last
But then-
sentence, that part goes up.
I did that too. And
Okay.
whenever I got
Okay.
feedback, it was put that up there.
Right. So then it talks about responsive child-parent relationships, meta-analysis, that was key. I remember,
Yeah, so you've got your summaries going there.
and then it talked about, language, those 5 domains. So I think I just need to rework it to make it more sense. But I'm like you, I think I need to describe my community better and how our community is made up with our birth to 5. I talked about academic achievement improvements, positive parenting, stuff like that. And then I talked about my survey.
And see, all that survey part needs to go up there in problem of practice.
Okay.
Everything about data needs to go up there in section 1.
Oh, right here is right. So here it was about 86% children of some type are in a program ranging from private, public. 14% do not attend. And then I've got my charts. So I
See,
just
all-
need to rework it.
Yeah, all that goes in part 1.
Okay.
And then you need 4 peer reviews at least in section 2.
Yes. So sorry to take up your time. I've got to rework my paper.
Okay. And
But
you
I-
might decide you want to do Google Slides and not even work on the paper.
What do you think?
I think
Google
it's
Slides. Is Google Slides the way to go for me?
Google Slides organized my thinking better than the headings on the,
Okay, I'm gonna try it. I'm
On
gonna
the
try it.
paper.
If I don't like it, I'll just put it in the paper.
that's right.
you have to request it though.
I'm gonna request. I'm gonna work on 2 things at once.
If
What
you
do you
do
have to request?
and you hate it, then what, like,
And I'll
let's
just put it on my paper, right?
if
And I'm
you
gonna request it
make the
through
request.
Rebecca. I'm gonna request it through Rebecca Gaddy.
Yeah, so we've got that request form on our agenda. So Jennifer,
Oh,
you
okay.
ask a question?
I did. So then what do we have to request?
You don't have to do this yet because you're not in the last year, the last semester.
Okay.
But they have to request how they're going to present their capstone.
Gotcha.
It's not something you have to worry about. I'm sorry you're coming in right at the end, but
We're ready.
in some ways it's good for you to see where you're going to get to, but
Right.
I'm sure it feels overwhelming. So, Brandy, thank you. I mean, I know I tell you this, I think it's that problem of practice when you can get that data back in there and you can make it tighter, like describe it and then list the data and then give because of this, I'm going to do that. I think it's
Right.
going to make more sense to you.
Right.
So if I were you, I think I would go through the slide deck and try to fill it in and see. if
Okay.
it fits.
Right. I'll
Okay.
do it.
All right. So
I'll pay you some extra I'll take off work one day and I'll come to Bowling Green.
I have faith in you. I'll help you, but I do have faith in you. I do.
Gosh,
I know I do.
I know.
You've done a lot of thinking and you've done the work.
Yeah, I did a lot of work. So
You're in a good shape. I mean, if you hadn't done any work, then it'd be not good, but you've done the work. Now we just got to find a way to present it in a way that makes sense. Why don't you do your problem of practice slides and then call me?
okay.
Okay, how about that? All right, Stephanie, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm looking at my research and I've only got like 4 things in there. So I'm going to have to add a ton of research.
Yes,
Um,
and I think that's true of everybody. I don't think you're the lone ranger in that. Now, do you know how you're going to present yours yet?
I think I'm just going to stick with the paper because I've got so many irons in the fire. I can't reinvent the wheel right now.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think anything's really changed on mine since last time, but I can share my screen and
Sure. Why don't you share just a little bit and we'll try to.
I turned off my mic because my internet's going in and out. I don't know why, but it just is. So I'm trying not to
Sure.
take away from you guys.
Sure.
okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I'll just basically go over what I have on here, and I just have, based on the Brigance Group Screening Summary Report, there was a need to increase student kindergarten readiness skills prior to students entering kindergarten. Then I have our data for the last few years, which I won't go over all of that, but it wasn't great. Beginning in the fall of 2021, Dawson Springs Independent Schools offered full day, 5-day per week preschool to students ages 3 and 4 years old in order to provide instruction to better prepare students for kindergarten. Teaching strategies, goals, second steps, EAK method for learning letters, and Haggerty phonics were all utilized. in order to prepare students to be kindergarten ready. And so in here, I don't know that I have enough info about Dawson Springs schools. I do have information about our specific program that is here at Dawson in here. I'm collecting some data in Teaching Strategies Gold and ESGI to show student progress. I've got my first data collection started for this year, and I plan to compare, I guess, though, really last year's data more than this year's per se, as far as beginning of the year preschool to end of the year with the stuff I collected in class, which I think that'll go in like section 3. And then kindergarten just finished their Brigance screening for this year. And so I'm going to get that data from them and compare it to last year's kindergarten readiness to see if our first year of preschool helped any, which I'm kind of jumping ahead here.
No, I understand, but you're telling us what you're going to put in the latter sections now instead of what's right there, right?
Yeah, sorry.
So,
Yeah.
so, no, I understand. This is the
Look
thing.
at
It's
it,
like the
but-
chicken or the egg. And that's what that's what Christy said. We kept doing, we kept going back. And so I think what's important, you've got a lot of data sources here and you've got a lot of observable data. And so then right here, by developing and implement, so you're telling now, these are the actions we're taking
Yes.
because of
All
this.
up until by developing and implementing, it was data, and Skip actually sent me like a comment and said that maybe I could put those in a table maybe in the appendix. I'm not sure where I would need to put it. Instead of having the data like just typed up right here,
Mhm,
as far as kindergarten ready versus not kindergarten ready
mhm,
for those years, 2017, 18, all the way till last year.
mhm.
So that's something I may change. But by developing and implementing full week preschool at Dawson Springs Elementary School, we are meeting Kentucky Teacher Performance Standard 1 by looking at how learners grow and develop, recognizing the patterns of learning and development vary individually within and across cognitive, linguistic, social, emotional, and physical areas, and designing and implementing developmentally appropriate and challenging learning experiences to help our preschool age children develop and grow through the use of daily curriculum and individual experiences in order to close the achievement gaps in kindergarten screenings. Like that's
So, and I would put another statement down there that just kind of says something like, it's like a closer. It says, and all these efforts are because of our, well, let me think about how to say it. What I'm trying to do is say that all these efforts that we're taking here are in response. I think I would say it that way, in response to the data listed above. Or so
Okay.
it's kind of like it's clear you're taking these actions because of that data.
okay. I'm making myself a note, so I'll go back and fix
Kind of
some
a
that.
closing statement there. So it shows how these actions connect to everything you described in the data,
Okay.
observed in the data.
And then I'm talking about Teacher Standard 1,
Mm-hmm.
how they grow and develop. And then my evaluation of research goes into our population is mainly low-income families, much like the schools mentioned in the research and studies, which implemented full-day programs. And that the programs allow students to participate in the school environment with exposure to content-rich and positive social emotional strategies and reading and math skills needed for kindergarten on into higher grade levels. And then I start talking about the studies. One of them was expansion in low-income Chicago, which I know we're not a city type like Chicago is. We're more of a rural area, but most of our kids here do live in town in Dawson. And so while we're a small town, they're not out in the country either. So it's a little
Right.
different.
It is different. Yeah. And it's hard to find peer reviewed research that's in rural areas. So,
So it just talked about in those studies that literacy and cognitive development were not significant. And it talked about that they had higher rates of attendance and lower rates of chronic absences, but no difference in parental involvement and things like that. And then I went on to talk about some other research. And I haven't looked at this since we started talking about everybody. So I'm a little bit like, I feel
That's
like-
okay. So basically you have your how many peer reviews do you have?
Honestly, I didn't look at this over the summer after I got this done to this part. I wasn't in the classroom, so I wasn't really on it. But if I go all the way, sorry if I make everybody see sick scrolling.
Your references?
Here are my references. How do I know? I guess like research is like I told you and Skip both is the worst for me. Like that's the worst thing ever. So how do I know that they're peer reviewed or not?
It depends on like where it will tell you when they're published. So like that second one for sure is going to be because more than likely just because of where it is. And that first one, it's a working paper. So I'm not sure if it's peer reviewed or not. It may not be. I don't know. Of course, that third one is not because now it's KDE. It's a school report card. It's, it can count.
That's where I pulled my data for the school.
Yeah. And so it's important, but it's still not, peer reviewed.
Yeah.
So in the rentals, let's look at it. Yeah, so you've got two of them. The JAMA is peer reviewed.
Okay.
So what I would do is I would go into the one that is the second one and the last one and look at their references and see what they used as research.
Okay.
And I would go back and read those pieces. That's how I typically do it, even when I'm grant writing. I find a piece that's really important to the work we're doing. And then I'll look at back what research they used. And then because that backs it up.
Okay.
I use those references a lot.
So, I mean, I know there's still a lot that I have to do in here, but that's sort of where we're at right now.
Here's what's good about that. Your next steps. It's clear. Your next steps. So I do think that we've had more clarity about that based on this criteria.
Oh yeah, I think that's helpful.
And when you get part 1 and part 2 in, then, the implementation part and the reflection I think they're easier.
Right, because that's what I actually did, and then how it turned out basically, and then reflecting on it. So I think the rest of it will be a little bit easier once I get past the research.
And Chrissy, I'm going to send you all the dialogic reading and the alphabet principle research I have from Whatworth Clearinghouse.
Perfect. Thank you.
And
I have some of that, but I don't know if it's some kind of that have peer review,
Yeah. Well, the ones I have, I promise you're a peer review because I had to turn them into
Okay.
KDE.
Perfect. Thank you.
So now, thank you so much for sharing, Stephanie. And so Jennifer, we did not follow our Google slide deck at all. We were going to start out and have you tell us about yourself, and we have been horrible to you tonight, and we apologize. We're so sorry. We
Very
just
much
dug
so.
in because Rebecca needed to leave, and so we just dug in to catch her.
That's okay.
So we promise you this: when you need to leave, we'll dig in and catch you too, so you won't be left out. So tell us about yourself. It looks like I see your classroom.
Yes, I'm here at school. I've been here since about 7:15 this morning.
So 12 hours now you've been at school.
A little about myself. I have been teaching. This is my 11th year. I started in the. Oh, my watch is talking to me. I'm sorry. I started in the Bowling Green area, actually, there in Glasgow, Kentucky, at Highland Elementary, and now I'm in Bardstown. And I taught a blended program my first 3 years, and then the next 8 years I taught all 3-year-olds, and now I'm in a all 4-year-old classroom. So this is my first year here. I kind of moved up, if you will. For this, we have a 3-year-old program and a 4-year-old program. I finished my master's in teacher leadership about 2 years ago, right before they said you didn't have to do that anymore. So I'm kind of here now and look forward to learning more, but I am a little anxious. So I have a husband and 2 little girls and family, a very supportive family, very diverse, supportive family. We're kind of all across the state. And that's kind of about it.
Okay. It's nice to meet you. I
Thank you.
saw one of my grandchildren come on to look. That's my Jonah. He's 11 now. It's hard to believe he's our baby.
I
He's
think
11.
I've met you before, you and your grandson.
Yes, because of a training maybe we did
Mhm.
with Bardstown.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes, you and your daughter, right?
Yes, Allison. Yes, absolutely. Yes, I thought so too. So anyway, and then his brother got his driver's license today. So he's 16 and a half, and got his driver's license. And then another one I have is just turned 16 grandchild. And then I have an 18-year-old grandchild who just went to UK to school. And I cry when I think about it because I want her to go, but it's hard
Yeah.
to let her go. So I'm all about, that's where my phase of my life is.
Mhm.
And I know that Brandy's getting ready to, Brandy has a new grandchild, gonna have another new grandbaby.
Yes.
And Christy has new grandbaby girl. Is she almost a year?
She will be a year old in October. Can
For
you believe that?
no. No, I
It
can't.
just is crazy, and the heart surgery and all that, making it through all that, and she's a warrior, I'm telling you.
You can
She's
see it in her
good.
eyes. I get to see her on Facebook and you can see it in her eyes. And so Reagan and Rebecca have both changed schools and we're very happy for them. And Stephanie was involved in the tornado last December and she's moved houses. And she has beautiful children. So we all just have these wonderful little crazy lives. And we're so happy you get to be with us at least one semester, and then they're all going to go on and you're going to stay with me and other people will come on. Okay, that helps. So see, before you know it, you're going to be the experienced person, Jennifer.
Yeehaw!
But if you're in your first semester, if you have all these uncertainties, you are exactly on track.
I am on track then.
Would you guys agree with that?
Yes.
So,
So are we gonna do something tonight to turn in next time?
let's look at our agenda. Okay, let me go back to this agenda if I can see which one. There we go. Okay. So here we go. We've shared all these pieces here. And I want to, there's something we've got to share, and that is and this is something I can work with you on, Jennifer. So these agendas are just flush full of things. So this one is the new competency content product that we will need to turn in by the end of this semester, Jennifer. And I will work with you and we will work together. I think what we'll do is we'll find a time we work by ourselves, and then you can take that off your next time we meet. So, but anyway, we'll work at doing this and we'll work through that. So that's something we need to do. Here is a sample one that is filled out. And it's filled out by someone that's in the math community. So that's helpful because I'll tell you, Jennifer, these guys, they never had a sample of anything filled out. So but yeah. Well, then this one's not filled out. It says it is, it's not. I'll talk to Rebecca about that. Wow, that one's not filled out. It says it's a sample, but it's not. Okay, I'll find that. Then we have for you guys, see where it says reflection form? So this is one thing that's good. You do not have a competency tool to turn in. Because why would we have you do one more thing when your capstone's ending? So this is what Rebecca in the group came up with. That this is going to count for everybody that's in cohorts 1 through 4, which were a lot of you are cohort 3, some of you are cohort 2. But this is the reflection that you're going to fill out at the end of the semester. So basically what it asks you to do, it's just like a journal entry. Thinking over the 2 years, what did you learn and how did it impact your understanding? And then you write about it. And then this one says, what were a minimum of 2 challenges? That's probably going to be the easiest thing for you to write. What were your challenges? And then this is just like a prompt to say what's been beneficial. And then this is going to say what was the barrier that helps us get better. If you have a time machine, what would you do? Now, Brandy's already told me this prompt 5 answer. Brandy told me last spring, if she had to do over again, she would have had that concept map done early, like that Christy has. Now,
I'm telling you guys, that helped my thinking through this whole process when they told us to do that. And it didn't have to be as elaborate as mine, but I was laying out my work with that. So it did help me a lot.
So Brandy told us that one night. She said, you should have made me get that done.
Yeah.
So I don't know
sounds
if that's
good.
what you'll want to write, but that I'm just saying, I think you've been thinking of these things. I don't think that it's anything on here that's going to cause you to think, oh my goodness, this is not helpful to me. But so here's the thing. When you ask what we need to do for this semester, as far as turning in at the end of the semester, all we have to do is each of you fill out that reflection form, and you have to have it in by November, in November, just that reflection form.
Okay. So we don't have anything when we meet in October, do you?
But when we meet in October, here's what I'm going to suggest. Bring back your rewrites.
Right,
Bring back your capstone.
right.
Bring back, if you know, like show us if you started working on the Google slides,
Five.
bring
Mhm.
those and show us, or they'd say, I tried it, I hate it, I'm going back to my paper. Whatever you decide, we're going to support you. But I promise
like-
you this. Mhm.
But like for Jennifer, you remember like how we worked on things together? Is she gonna have the
So
opportunity to
here's,
do?
well, here she got to work by herself.
Oh, okay. Okay,
So
that makes
I'm
sense.
going to meet with Jennifer separately, and we're going to talk about, I'm going to help Jennifer think about her. It's probably too soon for her to think about what her capstone is. But I want her to think about what she would like to learn about. And it could be those standards that we talked about. You know, it could be, there's all kinds of things, but so she will complete of the first form I showed you,
Mhm. Yeah.
but you guys will complete the
Okay.
reflection form. So that's what we have to have done. So we have October to work together and give each other feedback. And we'll have November.
Okay.
And Jennifer, you'll have some time in November to show what you've learned too. We'll give you time to show. We will not just, make you feel like you're just sitting over there by yourself. But so that's something. So basically, the request form, I thought I had it on the agenda, but I don't see it on that agenda form.
It was on last month's cohort meeting.
That's where it was. Thank you. Okay. It's in the Google Classroom for the cohort then. Is where it is. So I can, so who needs that? So you need it, Brandy?
Yeah, I'll take that again.
Okay. So let me email that to you, Brandy, because I'll find it.
Okay.
And so Stephanie, you don't need it. Do you need it, Reagan? The slides?
The slide, like the professional slide deck,
Mm-hmm.
I have not decided.
Okay. Will you let me know or you can look in your cohort on your Google Classroom and find it too, either way, but I'm going to send it to Brandy tonight when we finish.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And so if you could stay on just a minute, Jennifer, and you and I could set a time when we can talk about what you would like to learn, because this is our opportunity to learn about early childhood typically. But this last semester, we are using this time to give each other feedback because we're in crunch. And everybody's working like this, as I understand it.
Great, thanks.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So Jennifer's, so let's just talk for a minute.
Sure.
When would be a good
Sideways.
time?
See if-
When would be a good time for us just to talk?
How long do you think it would take? That'll give me a better understanding.
30 minutes or so?
I can go and do.
I can talk to you during the school day too.
Okay. Do you have time tonight?
Yeah, I've got time right now.
Okay. Let's do it now.
Okay.
Let me get my lifesavers in and my notes
Okay.
ready.
Okay. So I'm going to put back up that document. Not this one.
Oh my.
Okay. So this, are you seeing that document? Thank you.
I am.
Okay.
Mhm.
So here's what these things are. They're like a tiny, tiny, tiny capstone in a way, because they want you to tell about what is it you really want to learn about. And then I'll help you do that. Uh-huh.
It's like a tiny assignment. When you
Yes.
say like an assignment. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so like, it's like, what are your challenges? Like, like Chrissy had mentioned, like those new standards came out. So if you've not had time to really dig into those, this would be an opportunity for you to do that and count it as your project for this. It's not, it's just it's not a big project, but it's bigger than an artifact.
Okay.
And we
Well,
could
standards.
help you. So would you like to do that?
I can. Yeah.
Or or is there something else you'd rather learn about? Or is there something like with your students, is there something that's really bubbling up you'd like to with early childhood?
I think it would probably be beneficial for me to do maybe that or something that I've already kind of. So would I take this? Does it all turn into what I just saw tonight?
Over time it fits in, but
Okay.
this first one can be. Yeah, so you don't know yet what you want to learn for the whole 2 years, unless you've talked about with somebody at your school or something. But what they're showing tonight is something they've been working on for 2 years,
Right.
and they really didn't start that till like the second semester.
Okay. So then this is just to get us thinking
Yes,
just about things that we're.
that you would like to learn more about. Like let me just give you an example. Let's say you had a child in your classroom you had a group of kids that really needed help with self-help, and so then you want to dig deep in those standards and strategies, to help the small group of kids. Or you had, maybe you had a new curriculum that you've never used, or it's all brand new and you really need to do, it should be something that's helpful to you as a teacher. It shouldn't be something that's just like an add-on.
I guess that's what I'm trying to think too. So we're tackling more of the new standards next year.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of settled and decided as a team that we're going to focus more on the new COS that we've put through and that we're doing. We didn't want to do it like most districts. We're just kind of focusing on one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just kind of doing that this year, and we're supposed to tackle the new standards next year.
Mm-hmm.
You think it would benefit me to go ahead and do that, or
I do.
would that be
No,
more?
I don't, and I don't think it's, I think it's connected to what you're doing every day too.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And
Um,
I, that part's good. You know, it's not an add-on, like I'm never going to use this add-on. It's
Well, then let me do that. Because you're right. I didn't know how to say it, but I don't want to do work that's not going to be beneficial. That's
No.
pointless. And because I've already got a ton of work that I'm already doing here at school that I can't even. I'm
done. I know.
treading water. So
Yeah.
I can't take on any.
And so if you want to do something you've got to do for school, we could do that too.
Well,
And you know what? You can think about this. You don't have to decide right now.
okay.
Why don't you think about it? Give it some time. You've been at school 12 hours,
Mhm.
exhausted. Give it some time. Look at this. So basically all we have to do is say why, and then you kind of say, what research do I want to do that helps me learn more about it? And so it's a tiny little capstone, really. How did you address it? What you could link the pieces here for evidence. And then you look at this, it's like after you worked with it, what impacts it having on your life at school. So, and this is not due till November.
Okay. I think it would be good for me to do the standards. I think I
Okay.
can do that. I think that would be good. So with that being said,
Mm-hmm.
so in several binders that I have actually,
Mhm.
so I have so I went to the early childhood conference this summer
Yes. Uh-huh.
in Louisville, and where they released some of that, unrolled some of that. We went over some things. But they didn't, and they, asked for feedback or whatnot. So I do have a piece, and you might know of this, but you might not know yet too. So with the new standards, do you know if they have created a shortcut document that is a printable version? So I have, I guess what we're now calling the old standards. As far as the English.
They haven't, but you know what? We at Greg have done it for language at least. Like we made like a placemat.
Right, like it looks like this.
Yes. So let me show you.
And then like here's the arts, health, and wellness. Like it's just a shorter breakdown than that huge
Document.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
they still didn't even have it when they released it, or that was not something. And I was like, look, I said for lesson planning purposes, in all reality, we need a shorter version to be able to.
We do. And so let me
It's
find,
more.
let me see if I can find this. Michelle did this.
But I guess also where do I go to find the new standards?
Okay. So at the governor's office of early childhood, you click on professionals, and then right here, early childhood standards come up. Can you see that on the screen?
Yes.
And then you click on, like you would click on, 3 and 4.
Okay.
And then like, let's say we want to look at language and early learning.
Well, that's another thing. How do I get all of them in one spot to print?
You can't. You have to print them all separately. It's crazy as heck.
That's terrible.
It is terrible. I
That
agree
is
with you.
absolutely terrible. I thought that I was just looking at this wrong.
No,
and they
there's
weren't
no
explaining
way.
it right. But that's terrible to release new standards and not have a better way.
Yes,
than the
I'm gonna
old
find.
way.
I want to show you what she made for us.
Maybe we need to just go work for them.
I know. Let me see if I can find it. When you try to find something on your email.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I get it.
Let me go back and let me get out of this and let me go to here because maybe I can find it this way. Just search by Michelle. and it was a, look, maybe this is it, pre-K standards. Maybe this is it. Okay. Michelle did this for the language and early literacy so you could use it when you're just doing your lesson plans.
Right. That's what I'm looking for at the state level. For
They
all
don't, they
standards.
don't. And
They don't
Michelle
have
just, no, they don't have it. But so that's something Michelle's working on in our office.
Okay.
Let me just share this with you, Jennifer.
I don't feel like then how am I going to be able to, that's a lot of information to figure out.
Yes,
Not a better layout than that. Darn.
yes. So Jennifer, tell me your last name right now. Sorry.
Newton. No, it's on.
I don't have it on. Oh, it's got
NEWTON
NEWTON. Is that
at
right?
Barstown. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I've got it, but I just don't have it in front of me. Okay, there you are. You're in there. I'm just going to send this to you,
Okay.
and that way you can at least this has got it. This has it for language, and she's done it for math, but she's getting ready to do it for everything.
Okay. Do you know when she proposes to be finished with that by any chance?
No, but I can ask her.
And would she mind sharing that?
Oh no, that's what we do at Greg. We try to make tools that are helpful.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
So, but on that site, the governor's site, what
Yeah.
I did at the office, I just printed them all out from there, but it's a mess. It doesn't even print well.
That's what I was afraid of. So how many pages is it?
It's a lot. I mean, like, it's probably 7 or 8 pages, but they're probably front and back. So it's like 4 if you do front and back for each of the areas. So, I mean, it's a lot. It's a whole booklet.
Yeah. Okay. So then I guess I'll just print them and try to look at it.
And
see.
so let's think about what you might do with them though, because we might just choose one content area first, or not content. It might be, like I said, like you might look at, let me go back to
I
Google.
can do that. Yeah.
I mean, because there's no, which one is the one area like you think with your kids this fall you really need to look at?
Probably technology.
Okay. Well, let's just do that one.
Just because, for the simple fact that we
You
got
gotta do that.
new view. Well, yes and no. I do feel like we were already there. It's just presented to us, and here it is. And this is, and it does give a little bit of a guideline, but I also feel like I'm in a disadvantage because we got new boards, but they're not super appropriate for this age. So I need to spend more time using it and becoming more effective so that the wait time for the students is not as,
Mhm.
I mean, we know that 3 and 4-year-olds just don't have the wait time. And when you're
Mhm.
not speedy with it and know all the things you need to know for it and can do and are efficient with it, then it's just kind of not
Right.
worth using,
That's
and
right. So see, the technology one alone is not too bad. So why don't we just tackle that?
yeah, we can do
And
that.
this gives you examples.
Okay. Did you just pull that from
The governor's
Okay.
office of early childhood.
okay, and then you just clicked on
I
Okay.
clicked on the technology, and then I clicked on the plus. See how it looks like this,
and
it opened up when I.
okay. So is there a way to print all that?
Yes, right here.
Okay, I see.
So
Okay,
let me go to print and just see what it looks like when we do it.
open them both. And then it is,
And then so let me make this. Let me go to advanced print, and I'm going to say open it as a PDF and see what it looks like. This is what I do when I'm going to see what it's going to look like. Okay, it's what it's going to look like. It looks pretty good. So it's not too many pages that way.
yeah. Okay.
Let's do that this semester, and let's just focus on that.
Okay. That would be good.
That will not be overwhelming.
I can do that. That is
I want this
hilarious.
to be overwhelming.
Yeah, no, I don't. Because I feel like I'm trying to do this and then my classwork, and then I'm trying to do the cohort stuff too.
Uh-huh. And so what you can do, some of this can be part of your cohort work too.
Yeah. So
Okay.
right now, my first assignment, in fact, I'm a little behind on it. I need to get working on it because it's due in a week or so. And I'm just behind. But I mean, I've worked on it some, but I just don't feel real great at it. But you guys were talking about it tonight, was I have to identify a problem with practice. So I feel like there's some dots there. I just got to figure out how to connect it all.
Mhm.
So
I've got a module on how to do a problem. Are they sharing those kind of things with you yet? Or they just kind of,
they want you to develop one, and then they have basically the document what you just showed me. I'm going to plug my technology stuff into, or whatever we called it, the product. What do we call that?
competency content products?
Yeah. So that piece, that
Mhm.
assignment, I've got that assignment, and I basically plug stuff in, and then we'll go over it.
Mhm.
I don't really know if they give me feedback and then I'll do it again. I don't know. I was a late ad, and so
Okay.
I feel behind anyway. A
Mhm.
lot of people did the boot camp, but I didn't do the boot camp. I was a late ad. I don't really have anybody I can springboard off of, so I just kind of feel.
Well, we can be that for you. We're going to give you time each time we meet. Okay. So, but then I'll meet with you. I'll meet with you too. And that way you don't have to stay all 2 hours. I mean, I don't want you to double dip because they've got to have help to get this sorted out because they're about to be done. And you guys are going to be in better shape because you're going to have lots of models. They don't have any models until now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm struggling too, because I'm a visual. I have a hard time with auditory. I got to put it all together, the multisensory thing. So I struggle with just that. Anyway.
Well, I promise you this, you just fill out the form the best you can, and then over time it's going to get better. That's what's happened to everybody. So do they have you to fill out certain pieces of the form at first?
Well, it looks like what you gave me, or what's on yours.
It's
So
similar.
do you and Rebecca, are you all in the same office?
We are.
Okay. So y'all all work together on this.
We do.
Okay. So y'all will probably know my name because I'll ask 10,000 questions.
We want you to, Jennifer. And let me give you my cell number right now. It's on the emails, but let me give it to you. It's 270
Okay.
791
791
6727.
27. And can I ask you some really silly questions?
There are no silly questions, so please ask.
So here's another piece for me. So I've never done Google Slides, Google Classroom. All this stuff is new to me too. I can do Google Docs and Google Drive, but one of my areas of work is technology because it is ever changing. And our platforms are always changing. So, and a lot of people have shifted to Google, and I'm growing on it too. But so that's kind of new for me too. It's all this clicking everywhere, going to this classroom and pulling up this assignment and trying to figure all that out too. So y'all just, if you can just bear with me. So tell me what the GRIC stands for. It's the green.
Yeah, look, I'm going to bend my head down. Look behind me. Green River Regional.
There it is. I kept trying to look. Educational
Cooperative. 2 R's.
And this is through the state, right?
No, it's not. It's a co-op that the superintendents all belong to, and they pay dues. It's not through the state. Yeah.
Of superintendent.
It's like superintendents create a co-op. You know how like you have an electrical co-op for your electricity? That it's the same kind of notion. It's that they got together and made this so things they could save money.
Kind of smart. Do they make any grants for this? Can you write a grant to support, like, so I was talking to a family member in another district in the Mayfield area, and I was thinking that he was telling me about like their superintendent, or they were basically paying for a program for them to,
districts can decide to do that. They can decide to support their people. It's up to the district.
Who do you go to about that?
You know what? probably your instructional supervisor.
Okay.
Um,
So where does that funding come from?
I don't know how Mayfield did it. It may have been through ESSER money,
Yes,
because it could be like professional development for the teachers.
gotcha. Okay. So it's basically the same thing. They're just funding it.
It's professional development for the teacher. Really, you're growing.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. That's very interesting. Because they didn't offer that to us, but it's interesting that other people it's being offered to other people.
Yeah, we don't have many people that are.
Gotcha.
Rebecca may know more.
Okay.
Rebecca would be, Rebecca Gaddy.
Yeah, she had my first cohort meeting with her, and then I think it's gonna spin over to somebody else. But yeah, she's the one to ask.
She is. She would know all that.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if I could approach people at my board and how they.
Yeah, you might mention that. I would talk to Rebecca first to get my facts, how many districts are doing it and how are they paying for it. And then I would approach them after I knew the facts.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I know we digressed a little bit there, but
No, that's not a digress. That's a good question.
I'm trying to wrap my brain around
Mm-hmm.
names, and people are asking me questions, and then I've got this meeting and that meeting. I'm like, I need to get some facts down, and I think we are doing it.
That's right.
So it's the Green River Regional Education Cooperative. It's a co-op of superintendents.
In school districts.
Yeah, and of school districts.
Yeah, and the superintendents decide to join. Like there's several co-ops in the state, like Southeast, South Central. There's one at OVEC, Ohio Valley. There's several. Northern Kentucky has a co-op. Yeah, every region in the state has a co-op, but they're not state funded. They're funded by the school districts.
Interesting. Okay. So, all right. Now I've already gotten sidetracked a little bit. Okay. So I'll print that off, and then, so that artifact, I'm gonna call it an artifact. The artifact that I need to do, or the assignment, is located in Google Classrooms under the agenda.
Under the agenda, that's right. And you don't have to worry about filling that out yet. Just start thinking about what you want to learn about the standards. And I can help you start filling that form out.
Okay. As in, I need to call you back, or like
we can, why don't we have a time we talk between the meetings, and I'll help you start filling that first part out. We don't have to fill the whole thing out. We could fill out the first part.
Okay. So preschool content meeting is the 12th.
And we'll just work on Google together. Like we'll put that form up and we'll just start filling it out together, typing on it together.
Okay.
So which day is there next couple of weeks you have some time, or when is your planning at school, or do you have any planning on Fridays, or you don't have any?
Well, it's one day a month.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah, it's
that's bad.
It's bad. Yeah.
That's terrible.
That is terrible. It is terrible. Thank you.
I mean,
it is absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. And we go all day from sun up to sundown, and that's
a lot.
It is beyond a lot. And I wish we could fight for something different, because I don't know that they can keep this up for this much longer.
So is there any afternoon that's good for you? That of the week that's better? Or
what about September the 20th?
You know what? We're going to be gone that day. It's one of the few days I'm gone out of town.
It's okay. I really honestly don't have, let me see. What about the 21st?
Okay. What, after school? What time do you get out?
Sure.
What time's best for you?
What about 4:30?
And that's be 3:30 my time, is that right? You're
Oh,
Eastern time?
yes, Eastern Standard Time. Yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah.
3:30
Okay, I'm gonna
your
put
time.
Jennifer Newton. And that would be 3:30 my time.
Yes. And will you, how will that work? Will you just send me a
I'll send you an
invite?
invite, yeah.
Okay.
And then we can just work on Google together. And we'll just talk about what you're gonna do. We'll start filling that out. And then I think you'll feel better about what you're gonna do with this.
Yeah, probably. Okay.
I don't want you to feel like you're alone.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that very much. It's very helpful. Okay. All right. In the meantime, I will print the standards and just kind of, well, yeah. Let's print the technology standard.
Okay?
I think that will be good for me.
I do too.
Got a lot
And
of
that's
iron.
there's too much to do all of them. It's too much.
Yeah,
Let's
got a
stick
lot
with-
going on.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Let's make this work.
yes. Okay. All
Okay.
right. Well, I will see you on the 20th at
All right.
no
That sounds
21st.
wonderful.